Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a brand new series we're calling Ultra Long Haul Specials, where the Real Airbus pilot and I attempt to recreate extra long haul flights in Flight Simulator. And in this first episode we're starting off in Papeete in Tahiti in prepared 3D version 4.5 on the 15th of March 2020 at just before 3 AM local time, as I attempt to recreate the TN064 Air Tahiti Nui flight non-stop from here in Tahiti to Paris Charles de Gaulle. And because Air Tahiti flew this route using the Boeing 787-9, I'm attempting to recreate the flight using the Qualitywings Boeing 787-9. And I know what you're asking, guys, what is so special about this route, because Air Tahiti fly it nearly every day. Well, back in March 2020, in the early days of the pandemic, the United States government closed its borders to all incoming non-US citizens, and that meant that the normal stopover at Los Angeles LAX would not be allowed, requiring Air Tahiti to make the special ultra long haul flight of 15 hours and 45 minutes non-stop from here in Papeete to Paris Charles de Gaulle in France. And on the 15th of March 2020, the TN064 was at 80% capacity, and have used their numbers to configure this Qualitywings Boeing 787-9 for this virtual flight from Papeete up to Paris Charles de Gaulle. Jumping over to SimBrief, we're going to be departing Papeete on runway 04, routing northeast towards Mexico, then across the United States, Canada, then the Atlantic, arriving overhead the Republic of Ireland, crossing the south coast of England, and then into northern France. And there were a number of step climbs during this flight between Papeete and Paris Charles de Gaulle, starting at flight level 270 and ending up at flight level 410. But I'm going to come back and talk a little bit about that during the flight. And please ignore this part, because for some reason SimBrief had both London Heathrow and Paris Orly as alternate. The bottom line being that at the early stages of this flight, the FMC was clearly displaying that I had not got enough fuel to complete this flight between Papeete and Paris. But as I said, I will talk a little bit more about that once we're airborne. And another interesting point to note about this flight, we were going to see a double sunrise during the near 16 hours. Okay, it's time to jump into the cockpit and get this Qualitywings 787-9 Dreamliner prepared for its ultra long haul special flight.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just closed the main cabin door. All personal cellular telephones must be turned off and stowed for the duration of the flight. Flight attendants, prepare doors for departure, cross-check, and verify straps.
Airline 64 Heavy is cleared to take all airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain altitude 9,000. Departure frequency is 121.3, clock 0556.
Hello Captain, we are ready for pushback. Locking gear. Departure check completed, bypass pin inserted. Release parking brakes. Commencing push. All engines clear, start at will.
Okay, starting engines.
Ground to flight deck.
Go ahead from cockpit.
Unlocking gear. Tow track disconnected, bypass pin removed. Left is clear, right is clear.
Airline 64 Heavy, taxi holding point 3, runway 4, via taxiway India. via runway 4. Contact tower on 118.1 when ready.
Approaching 04.
Flight attendants, please be seated for departure.
As we backtrack towards the end of the runway here at Papeete, there's really nothing to tell you about the scenery because all I'm using here at Tahiti is the stock scenery in Prepared 3D version 4.5. This is not an area I fly to that often in Prepared. I'm not sure that I've been to Tahiti in the last 10 years in flight sim, and as I'm not a massive fan of flying long-haul virtual flights in the sim, preferring to fly the short-haul routes in the narrow-bodied Airbus, Boeing, and of course the little Field Air Embraer that I fly in Prepared, I just never saw the point of investing in scenery for this airport. Right, time for me to shut up as we approach the end of the runway, where we will do a 180 so that we can depart northeasterly on runway 04 here at Papeete.
On runway 04.
Check thrust. Thrust in. Knots. Check. B1. Rotate. B2. Positive rate. Gear up.
Over 2121 decimal tree Tahiti Airlines 64 heavy 5.
Autopilot on. Autopilot in command.
Tahiti departure Tahiti Airlines 64 heavy is 3,100 climbing altitude 9,000. Airlines 64 heavy Tahiti departure Roger. Altimeter 29Gate 5.
If you're wondering if the V2 speed was rather high at 173 knots during this departure, you would hopefully have assumed correctly that due to the weight of this aircraft with 80% passenger load and fuel for the 15 hours and 45 minute flight across to Paris, the aircraft was very heavy, but we departed Papeete with no problem at all. And of course, with this being a nighttime flight, there's very little to show you. So let's climb to our initial cruise altitude and watch the first of two sunrises on this flight between Tahiti and France. Approximately halfway between Tahiti and the Pacific west coast of Mexico, we were cruising at flight level 350 or 35,000 feet. However, checking out the progress page on the FMC, the onboard computer was recommending a climb to flight level 370.
Tahiti control Tahiti Airlines 64 Tahiti Airlines 64 heavy. Climb by level 370. Climb by level 370 Tahiti Airlines 64 heavy.
As we transited the Pacific Ocean, we had made another climb to flight level 370. However, as we crossed over the west coast of Mexico, it was time to climb to flight level 390.
Control Tahiti Airlines 64 heavy. Tahiti Airlines 64 heavy. Climb light
During the transit of the Pacific Ocean at the lower flight levels of 350 and 370, the onboard computer was telling me that I would run out of fuel somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, so well short of Paris Charles de Gaulle. However, as I climbed to flight level 390 and then ultimately flight level 410, things started to look up because the onboard computer started to predict that I would have 8 tons and then 9 tons when we arrived in Paris. However, the reality was actually quite different because we had nearly 30 tons of fuel left when we actually finally did arrive at runway 26 left at Paris Charles de Gaulle. And as we continued northeast across Mexico talking to Monterey Control, we would be handed over to Houston and then Dallas overhead Texas. And at this point in our ultra long haul special flight between Tahiti and Paris Charles de Gaulle, we were overhead Ohio talking to Cleveland Control. And as you can see, we were heading back into the night.
Montreal, control Tahiti Airlines 6, Tahiti Airlines 6-4 Heavy, Montreal, control Roger, Montreal, control Tahiti Airlines 6-4, Tahiti Airlines 6-4 Heavy, climb and maintain flight level 410, climb and maintain flight level 410, Tahiti Airlines 6-4 Heavy.
And as I click over to the progress page on the flight management computer, you can see that there is an estimated 22.2 tons of fuel left when we arrive in Paris Charles de Gaulle tomorrow morning. But of course, at this point in the flight, there was plenty of alternates to choose from before we started our transatlantic crossing. And at approximately 6 hours later, we were overhead the Republic of Ireland when daylight finally started to break. The end of our Air Tahiti ultra-long-haul special flight was finally in sight. After Ireland, we would cross the southwest of the United Kingdom before crossing the English Channel and into French airspace, where we would begin our descent to runway 26 left at Paris Charles de Gaulle.
Approaching 26 left.
Autopilot in command.
300. Approaching minimums. Minimums. 200.
3,000 feet remaining. 3,000 feet remaining. 1,000 feet
Ladies and gentlemen,
remaining.
we will be taxiing for the next few minutes, so please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the captain turns off the fasten seatbelt sign. At that time, please remember to check around your seating area in the seat pockets and overhead bins for all personal belongings that you brought on board.
I know, guys, that was an incredibly long landing, and given that Air France 777 had just cleared the runway, I probably should have gone around, but hey ho, that's Flight Simulator for you. Anyway, as I clean up the aircraft, it is time to welcome you to Paris Charles de Gaulle, and we made it with something like 28 tons of fuel left on board, and that long landing meant that we were actually closer to Terminal 2A, which is where we're heading right now. And in the next episode, we continue our long-haul special series in the capable hands of the Real Airbus pilot in X-Plane 11. So you know what to do if you want to continue to follow the channel and be notified when the next video is published. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon. And until that next video, thank you very much for watching, and wherever you're flying in your virtual world, don't forget to fly safe.